What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Week 7 edition of the Weekly Cheese. The Packers, while sporting their beautiful 1950s throwbacks, take care of business against the Washington football team, take them down 24-10. A lot to get into. Some guys really stepped up, especially on the defensive side of the ball for the Packers. We'll get into all that, plus the ultimate Stu-Nod of the week. Last week was the most cringy Stu-Nod of the week in Russell Wilson. This week, I don't know if there's ever been a bigger Stu-Nod in the history of the Stu-Nod of the week. So you got to stay tuned for that. So much to come on this Week 7 edition of the Weekly Cheese.
Super Bowl! 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 Super Bowl!
The Green Bay Packers!
Super Bowl! Super Bowl! Super Bowl! Super Bowl! Super Bowl! Super Bowl!
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Weekly Cheese. I'm your host, Joe Ivan, here with Packer Mike. Mike,
Hey,
how are you?
Joe, it's good to be here. I'm ready to talk some Packer football.
Yeah, let's get into it. The Packers, they take down the Washington football team 24-10. They were sporting the beautiful 1950s throwback. Nicest jersey I think I've ever seen in my entire life, that uniform.
Those jerseys were just so beautiful. I think it was a few years ago when we visited Lambeau together and we went through the Hall of Fame and we saw those the mannequins hanging from the ceiling with all the different jerseys, and we spotted that dark green and yellow one, and we said, wow, like they should be wearing those immediately. And lo and behold, this year we broke them out, and I'm hoping it's not just a one year thing. I'm hoping we stick with them and maybe put those things on again this year. Those are beautiful.
Well, yeah, interestingly enough, I was always under the assumption that teams could only wear those once a year due to the fact that the Packers only ever wore the Acme Packer jerseys once a year because they were not that nice. Like, why would they really want to wear those tan pants like that? But I get home from your house after watching the game, and my mother says to me that she read that they could wear these dark green ones up to 3 times this year. So there's a chance they break them out.
Technically, I think they're not the throwback. I think they're technically the alternative jerseys now, or however the NFL wants to classify it. But yeah, I think even with the Thursday night game coming up here, I'm not sure if they're still doing the color rush ones. We might be wearing the all white, but I certainly want them to bring back those 50s jerseys again at least one more time this year. They were beautiful, and all the players absolutely loved them. If you went on social media and Twitter, you could see basically every player saying this jersey is going to be one that gets framed.
Well, yeah, I mean,
beautiful.
Aaron posted on his Instagram story probably like 15 separate photos of like all of them wearing, like you just tell they felt fucking
The team
cool
looks amazing, and you can go through the pictures from Evan Siegel. That's his name, right?
Yeah, Evan.
The pictures on the website of the team, they looks fantastic.
He's a great photographer, that guy. He gets such cool shots of them in action. But the Packers, they extend their record to 6-1, and they now have a 3-game lead in the division. And after the game, Aaron said it himself. It hasn't been pretty, but that is what is exciting. And he said that they have not played their best ball yet, and they sit there 6-1.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great feeling to be 6-1, and like you said, to not even put out our best performance as a team yet, and we're still here at 6-1 is great. They have a lot of potential, a lot of room to grow and get even better.
Especially with all the guys due to come back in time. Aaron, though, had a phenomenal performance. 27 for 35, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was accurate and efficient, despite the fact that he was under pressure quite a bit, especially in that first half. And he threw the ball around the yard.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers looked great today. He had that one run to start the game for the big first down, and he gave the little celebration. You could just tell, like, this was going to be another Rodgers day. He was locked in, completely accurate when throwing the ball all around. 27 for 35, like you mentioned. Yeah, and great game from Aaron Rodgers. You love to see it.
Yeah, and it was great to see him get the ball to all every receiver. I mean, it was a reception party out there. Devonte, 6 receptions, 76 yards, a touchdown. Lazard, 5 receptions, 60 yards, and a touchdown. Cobb, 3 receptions, 22 yards. So he was sharing the wealth, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it was great to see because he completed passes to 7 different receivers, if I'm not mistaken. And for all the media members out there just saying our offense solely relies on Devonte Adams as the focal point. Well, he is, but this shows that there are other receivers that can get involved in the offense.
Yeah, it was put on full display on that drive right before halftime. The Packers marched down the field, score a touchdown right before half, go up 7. And Allen Lazard caught all 5 of his passes on that drive alone. He had 5 catches, 60 yards, 2 third-down conversions on that drive, and he capped it off with a touchdown.
Yeah, I was happy to see Lazard have a big game like he did. It was time. He was due for, if you want to call 5 receptions for 60 yards his breakout performance, but it was easily his best game of the year so far. He was really involved with the offense. It felt like he was involved more than just those 5 receptions. He was out there in a big way.
Well, he's always out there blocking. Like, he's such a primary blocker on this offense that everyone seems to forget that Lazard is a viable option in the passing game. And Aaron was talking about it after the game, how on that drive, it's not like he had Allen Lazard in mind, but
Right.
the way the matchups were, they were really doubling Devonte Adams a significant amount of the game, and Allen Lazard was the matchup that Aaron felt was the one to target, and he was the beneficiary on that drive of some adjustments that Aaron made.
Yeah, it's going to have to be different players week to week stepping up when Devontae's seeing as much double coverage as he is now. And like Matt LaFleur said, he was happy for Lazard to get that touchdown and get the recognition of how hard he's working in the blocking game. You know, he said Lazard's always out there busting his ass, and he was happy that he was able to get in the end zone to get the recognition that he deserves.
Yeah, and it was great to see, and that's what the Packers need. I mean, with Devonte Adams being doubled, and these teams just seem to be running a cover 2 basically all game against the Packers. Someone else needs to step up, because if other targets could get open and make plays, teams aren't going to be able to comfortably double team Devonte Adams the entire time. And when he gets that single coverage, you see what happens. I mean, that catch he had on the sideline in the 4th quarter of that game, it was one of probably the only times he had a single coverage on the entire day. Aaron gave him a 50-50 ball, and after the game, Aaron said, there's no such thing as a 50-50 ball with Devonte. He always has the advantage, and he made a spectacular grab.
Yeah, Devonte Adams is just a beast. You saw 6 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown, but like again with him, it felt like he was just more involved with that. He's everywhere. The connection with him and Aaron Rodgers is just dynamite. And Devonte Adams, what can you say? He's the best wide receiver in the NFL. That man needs to be locked up long term by the Green Bay Packers.
There's a lot of things.
Discussion for another time, but Devonte Adams is the best wide receiver in the NFL.
He really is. And the Packers also got quite the performance out of both of their tight ends on National Tight End Day. And before we get into the spectacular games that Tunyon and Mercedes Lewis both had, I mean, they were both targeted quite frequently throughout the game. We were talking about it before we started recording the episode, and you brought up that you can't stand National Tight End Day. What gives?
I really can't stand it. It's annoying me to no end. I think it's a narrative that needs to be buried 6 feet under and left there permanently. So it was this thing. It was started by George Kittle. First of all, in my opinion, stupid. So National Tight End Day, okay, whatever. And yeah, so they go on there, and it's NFL Network pregame. It's the postgame coverage. It's during the games. No one can shut the hell up that it's National Tight End Day, and I'm just thinking, this is stupid, and I want to stop hearing about it. And yeah, I couldn't stand the coverage of National Tight End Day.
What bothered you so much about it? Is it the fact that as an offensive lineman yourself, That's the question I had. Where's the national other days? Like if anything, there should be a national offensive line week.
Do we need a national wide receiver day, a national middle linebacker day? I heard someone say like, all right, where's the national interior left guard day?
Yeah, I want to see some talk about the National Long Snapper Month. The entire month where we celebrate the long snapping position. It just it's weird that the tight end is being highlighted like this, but I guess it's just due to the fact that they want their due respect. They feel they've been disrespected for years.
No, it was something that was created by Kittle as like a little gimmick, and it was supposed to be funny, and to me, it's just being jammed in our face like nonstop that, hey, this is really funny. No, it's not. It's stupid, and I hope that they do away completely with the National Tight End Day mockery.
Well, hey, I could get on board unless they start highlighting some national other days and start highlighting, because if anything, there deserves to be a National Offensive Line Day. Those guys get absolutely no recognition. They're never in the box score. The average fan doesn't even know the offensive linemen's names, let alone anything about them. So they deserve the national day, not the tight ends. Everyone knows George Kittle. He doesn't need a day celebrating
I'm
himself.
sure there are other football fans out there who are just sick and tired of hearing about what is this bull crap with the made-up National Tight End Day that they will not stop talking about, like ad nauseum, National Tight End Day. Like, all right, it was never funny. It wasn't funny when it's jammed into your face 100 times, and at
this point I didn't even know.
See,
I was introduced as National Tight End Day not even as something that was supposed to be funny. I was introduced to National Tight End Day as it was something we were celebrating yesterday. Like, seriously,
what is there to celebrate?
I don't know, just due to all the coverage that was given to it, I thought it was just I didn't ever heard of it before, so I guess it's National Tight End Day. I thought it was something we were celebrating the way it was being talked about. So
disgrace. The way they were talking about it, you would have thought it was Thanksgiving or something.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a disgrace.
Well, let us know what you think of National Tight End Day in the comments section below. If you happen to have an opinion on it, let us know, because it's something new, and I wonder if it's going to be an annual thing.
Please reach out to the Weekly Cheese on Twitter if you are disgusted, as I am, with the over coverage of this holiday that needs to be, like I said, buried 6 feet under and left there to rot, never to be heard from again.
Hey, I could get down with that. Again, unless we start talking about other position groups. But putting that aside, Bob Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis were phenomenal on Sunday. Tonyan, 4 receptions, 63 yards, a touchdown. Finally got back in the end zone after a 5-week drought. And Mercedes Lewis, the big dog.
Big dog, what can you say? He is so tough. He runs so hard. There was one play where they called the whistle early, and he was still rumbling down the field, and I was annoyed that they blew the whistle. It was apparent that guy was being taken for a ride on the Lewis train.
Yeah, he was riding the back of the big dog.
For real.
Like when a toddler gets on top of a Doberman. It was just...
Really. That guy's not going to be taken down with... it was... number 55, the linebacker with the long hair for...
the Boz wannabe? Yeah, that maniac.
The guy who was just, flying around and throwing his body around like a rag doll, and it was apparent that guy was not taking Lewis down by himself, so... And
Mercedes Lewis has been catching balls every week, it seems. I mean, for a guy who... for 2 seasons, basically caught 1 or 2 passes a year. He's come alive in the passing game, and he is barreling through defenders.
It's so interesting to see, because I remember his first season when he was here. It was Mike McCarthy's last year, and I just remember at the end of the year, everyone was so disappointed because he ended with literally under 10 catches, and it was like, we didn't get anything from Mercedes Lewis, and then you see him come back, and Matt LaFleur just use him the right way as a blocker primarily, and then getting him out on those little screen passes, and letting him rumble down the field and that's what you got to use Mercedes Lewis like. So
And the guy doesn't drop a pass. He catches
No.
everything.
no,
I mean,
I remember being so excited when we signed him for McCarthy's last year, and then people saying he didn't pan out, but McCarthy was not using him the right way. And now you see LaFleur schemes him up like this, lets him go out there and
he's a captain.
be the big dog.
Yeah, and he is the big dog. It couldn't be a cooler nickname. Like
Yeah.
LaFleur didn't even say Mercedes in the post game. He just said the big dog. And like you can't say enough about the big dog. He said, and that's how he left it. It was just so badass, dude. Mercedes Lewis, and the Packers had a phenomenal performance in the passing game, and it was particularly impressive to me, just because the offensive line struggled significantly, and the Packers could not run the ball to save their lives. I mean, Aaron was constantly under pressure, and they had no aid from the run game. The Packers ran the ball just 15 times for 57 total yards as a team, and the biggest run of the day was a jet sweep to Equanimeous St. Brown.
It's fun. Yeah, we didn't mention EQ or Randall Cobb. Cobb had 3 receptions for 22 yards, and his connection with Aaron Rodgers, like even if it's just a few receptions throughout the game, he picks up critical first downs. And then, like you mentioned with EQ, like it's interesting to see that he's out there and playing more now. Like he got the jet sweep,
Yeah, it was
handoff,
a nice play.
and took it for the first down. But yeah, EQ.
He's been playing well the past couple weeks. He put together 2 solid performances, Equanimeous St. Brown, and with Marquez Valdez-Scantling on the sideline, someone else needs to get involved, and it's good to see EQ
we should
step up.
mention it's Marquez Valdez-Scantling was eligible to come off of the injured reserve 2 weeks ago at this point, I believe. So they're really taking their time with his hamstring injury and letting him rest up. I mean, with the way he plays, just being a downfield, burner like that, you don't want him to come back and re-aggravate his hamstring too early. So yeah, we're still waiting on MVS, unfortunately.
Yeah, he'll be back, and when he comes back, the Packers offense is just going to open up. That extra layer that they have with the deep ball is just going to open up. Aaron Jones, 6 carries for 19 yards. He got involved in the pass game a little bit. And A.J. Dillon, probably the worst game of his career. I mean, 3 carries, 6 yards, and 2 fumbles, 1 loss.
Yeah.
Bad game.
Bad game for A.J. Dillon. It was funny. I heard a great point by one of my favorite Packers of all time, John Kuhn. I was listening to him on the post-game report, and he said the reason that Kylan Hill got the first snap and the reason they were trying to work in Kylan is because they were trying to keep Aaron Jones, his body fresh for this Thursday night game, quick turnaround. They said the game plan was to limit Aaron Jones' number of touches, and that's why you saw Kylan Hill in on the first drive. And then Dillon, he said you would have seen Dillon get more involved, but again, he really did not play well. Like the 2 fumbles on 2 out of his 3 carries were fumbles. So
it was a really rough performance for A.J. Dillon. I'm expecting a bounce back. He's not that type of player. It was an anomaly game, but it was really due to the fact that the Packers' offensive line could not handle the defensive front of the Washington football team when trying to run the ball. I mean, on the interior, Lucas Patrick and John Runyon totally lost the battle against Jonathan Allen. John Allen had a monstrous performance. He's having a great year. He finished the day with 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, and I believe now he has 5 sacks and probably 30 pressures on the year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that guy's really good, but that's the type of players we're going to see deep into the season when we get into the playoffs. Where they're going to have stud defensive lines like that. And, yeah, Washington, another point Kuhn made was that he thinks this is the best front 4, like, of encompassing all 4 of those players. Like, if you think about it, they had Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, and a few other guys working in there. So they were a good front 4. And the Packers, the O-line, I think pass blocking struggled early on, but then they made some adjustments and shored up the pass blocking there.
Yeah, they did. They were able to settle down second half. Aaron started getting the ball out a little quicker, and they were able to move the ball. The first half was rough. John Runyon, have to say, as well documented here at the Weekly Cheese, we are a John Runyon Jr. podcast. We love the guy. We're two of his biggest fans, but rough game from Runyon. That first half particularly, he gave up those 2 sacks. But after that, he settled down, and he held his own in there. Do want to highlight one thing. Billy Turner, the edges were solid. Jenkins and Turner were solid. And Billy Turner got the best of Chase Young. Chase Young could be seen whining and complaining on the sideline about the hands to the face from Billy.
It was ridiculous. The amount of complaining that comes out of Chase Young, for as good of a player as he is, he's always there like complaining about something or this and that, and it's like, come on, man.
He's always limping off with something and making a scene. He was complaining about early in the game, the hands to the face. He was like doing something with his eye, really dramatic.
Yeah, well, okay. We should say the starting line. We had Jenkins left tackle, John Runyon Jr. left guard. Filling in for Josh Myers again at center was LP Lucas Patrick. The guy who Larry McCarron really highlighted in this week's Rock Report, really went off on Lucas Patrick. He struggled today. But then you got, rounding out the right side, you got good old Royce Crazy Man Newman at right guard and Billy Turner at right tackle. Overall, I think Jenkins and Turner played well at the tackle positions. Billy had that one. I think it was bogus, that one penalty. I mean, the guy, he literally grazed his the inside of his helmet, and his helmet came flying off. Like, buckle up your chin strap a little harder, dude.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm an offensive lineman. I'm always going to give those guys the benefit of the doubt there. I think Billy Turner and Jenkins played great. But then when you go into the interior, John Runyon Jr. had his weakest performance of the season. There were several blitz pickups that he blatantly missed, miscommunication with him and Lucas Patrick. And then I think Royce Newman is the better of the guards. I mean, he's big, he's tough, he's got the long, greasy hair that you want out of your lineman.
That gives him the edge. That hairdo gives him the edge.
It gives him the edge. There's something about the grease in the hair that just helps him, just gives him that little extra that he needs on the O-line to get it done. And, I mean, this O-line is going to be so dominant, I think, once we have Myers and Bakhtiari back, because the countdown to Bach is hit. It's hit zero.
It's
hit
over.
zero. But Matt LaFleur made a good point and said that this past Monday was Bakhtiari's first practice in 10 months. So you got to give the guy a week or two to get up to speed. He'll be back at left tackle soon. Then you can kick Jenkins in to guard. Hopefully we get Myers back at center soon. His knee injury was just a sprain. So this offensive line as a total, arrows pointing up for this O-line.
It definitely is. Once Bach gets back, whenever it is, everything's going to open up, because then the Packers will have Elton Jenkins back at that left guard position, and they'll be able to run the ball a little better. They really will. Elton Jenkins is such a dominant run blocker at that, and when he's playing that guard, and the Packers are going to need to be able to run the football, because not every week they're going to go up against such a abysmal secondary. I mean, the Washington football team's secondary is so bad.
Yeah, I mean, they had a guy, and his name was Korn.
Yeah.
And he was their starting corner. So.
Yeah, they had a guy named Korn, and really, they were playing that cover 2, and their front 4 was doing their job. They were not allowing the Packers to run the ball, and their secondary just could not handle Aaron Rodgers and the aerial attack. And it's not going to be the same that way every week. So the offensive line is going to need to come ready to play and play like they have. And,
I'm thinking probably not this week for Bakhtiari, but then once we play the Chiefs, I think he'll be back.
It would be great to see. Now let's get into the Green Bay Packers defense on Sunday. I mean, defensively, the Packers got after Taylor Heineke, and they were able to force turnovers. I mean, they really were the epitome of a bend but don't break defense on Sunday. They gave up 430 total yards. Washington made 6 trips inside Green Bay's 30-yard line, and the Packers did not force a single punt. But due to the fact that they were able to come up with timely turnovers and step up their performance in the red zone, they only ended up giving up 10 total points. They gave up 3 points in the red zone, had 2 goal line stands, and an interception while backed up in their red zone. Mike, what did you see from the Packers defense on Sunday?
This was easily the best defensive performance of the season, I think, so far for the Packers. Like you said, definitely a bend but don't break defense. They let up a lot of yards, but they made the crucial stops when they needed to. I think the game would have looked and felt a little bit differently if Heineke didn't make a boneheaded play and basically, fall into the end zone when he could have easily sauntered in.
And
so that, if you want to look at it like in that perspective, the defense probably, they let that up, but then they responded in a huge way with that goal line stop. So we're going to get into that.
It was interesting, the Packers defense on Sunday, because all season long, the Packers have been great for the middle 80 yards of the field, but as soon as teams were able to get the ball into the red zone, they were scoring touchdowns basically with ease. The Packers were abysmal in the red zone to start this season, but they were top 5 in total yards given up. They've given up the 5th fewest yards in the league up until Sunday's game. But it was complete opposite on Sunday. The football team was able to get as many yards as they wanted. They were driving down the field every single time, but when they got backed up, the Packers defense stepped up. And it started with, like you said, when Taylor Heineke made that play. He didn't have a horrible performance, Heineke. 268 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He had 10 rushes for 95 yards.
That's the one area the Packers defense really needs to be better. They were letting him run, and if this guy was a better athlete, he could have maybe had like 150 yards rushing. I mean, imagine if that was Lamar Jackson.
Or Kyler Murray coming up this week.
Exactly. So that really is concerning.
It is, and
he was able to get that much.
That's a theme with the Packers defense. I mean, Justin Fields was able to do the same thing, basically. He got most of their yards with his legs.
Yeah.
But on the second drive of the second half, Taylor Heineke was able to march on the field. He got down the field in 11 plays. And on 3rd and goal, he became the ultimate Stu-Nod of the week. Taylor Heineke, what he did on Sunday on this second drive of the game was perhaps one of the most embarrassing chain of events that I could have ever seen in my entire life. He disgusted me with his action. He scrambled on 3rd and goal, and as Mike said, he could have pranced into the end zone on his feet. He could have walked in, celebrated,
on his feet,
did whatever he wanted. But no, he got scared. The adrenaline was getting to him, and he slid to the ground a yard short. His knee hit. He gave himself up, and he did not score a touchdown. But he thought he scored the touchdown, and he acted like a buffoon. He did a Lambeau leap. The whole friggin' game, John Vilma is talking about how Taylor Heineke is a Brett Favre fan. And
there's another narrative that was extremely overbaked.
Overbaked? They would not stop talking about how Taylor Heineke grew up a Brett Favre fan. He's wearing number 4 because Brett Favre. He wants to have a Brett Favre moment at Lambeau Field. He throws that touchdown to McLaurin to start on their first drive. He just had a Brett Favre moment at Lambeau Field. They're showing him and then Brett Favre.
And they were acting as if it was the most unique qualifier in the world. How many other kids grew up loving Brett Favre?
Hey, Taylor Heineke, you know who else loved Brett Favre? Everyone.
Everybody.
Everyone loved Brett Favre when he was the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. He's not special for that.
No, please.
So it was just so annoying. And to see him then score a touchdown and do the Lambeau leap, he was thinking about the Lambeau leap while he was showing up to the stadium. And he Lambeau leaped. And it wasn't a touchdown.
The Packers fans couldn't have been classier. He had to run about 10 or 15 yards diagonally to find one Washington jersey, jumped up there. And I'm thinking, if that was New York or Philadelphia, I know they don't have any very admirable touchdown celebrations like our franchise. But seriously, imagine if there was a different New York or Philadelphia and they jumped up there. They probably would have shoved that guy down.
I would have shoved that guy down if I was sitting right there. That made me so sick. seeing him get up
the
there.
Packer fans were so cool, so classy. They were just like, celebrating,
Yeah,
like
one
whatever.
guy gave him thumbs down.
Yeah,
or
like
something.
it was cool to see like the Packer fans so classy. But yeah, like
Class acts.
get your ass down,
Yeah, so,
Heineke.
and to make it even worse, it wasn't even a touchdown. The touchdown got taken off the board. He gave himself up too early. He was down at the 1. And personally, in my opinion, they should have stopped the game right there. They should have forced him to walk back up to that Washington football fan, sit back up on the wall, and then slowly climb back down the wall and undo his Lambeau leap.
Like an adult.
Yeah, like an adult. But fortunately for us, thanks to the fact that Taylor Heineke did the Lambeau leap when there was no touchdown scored.
Premature. The inappropriate, premature, and disgraceful faux pas Lambeau
Yeah.
leap that was. The Fox Lambeau leap. Or
Yeah.
however you say it.
Faux Lambeau leap.
Yeah. Fake Lambeau. Bullshit.
He did that, and what happened after that? He woke up the ghosts of Lambeau Field, the spirits of Lambeau Field, all the greats. He awoken the ghost of Ray Nitschke because on the very next play, 4th and goal at the 1, Heineke goes to sneak it in, and Ray Nitschke's spirit comes out of from the Ring of Honor, and it zaps into Devondre Campbell's
bobbled that
helmet.
football.
And Devondre Campbell stuffs him right at the 1, fumbles the ball,
Yeah.
turnover on downs, and that would happen repeatedly for the remainder of the game. Heineke would get to the red zone, and he would make a mistake, and he
be
would turn
denied.
it over on downs. He would throw a pick, all because he is the stew nod of the week, the ultimate stew nod. Heineke, I lost all respect for you that day.
Yeah, with that one move, that one misguided and just completely inappropriate fake Lambeau leap. You can't even call it a Lambeau leap. It was a wannabe. He thought he was, had visions of being Brett Favre when he was younger. They did not come to fruition today.
Yeah,
They
no.
did not.
Luckily, he humiliated himself on national television, and it was great to see, and it was what he deserved, as he is the Stunad of the week. Taylor Heineke, you played yourself. And the Packers defense, tremendous job in the red zone all day. Again, they stopped them 4 for 4 in the red zone, held them to no touchdowns in there, and 2 goal line stands for this Packers team, and a red zone interception.
Honorable mention for Stunad of the week would be Matt Rule, coach of the Carolina Panthers, who led his team lose to a disgraceful New York Giants football team, and that's all I have to say about that.
Good point, Mike. Honorable mention for sure. If it wasn't for Heineke's blunder, Matt Rule would have been the Stunad of the week, but Heineke saved him that honor.
Ruining many, many parlays for many disappointed football fans.
But yeah, the Packers defense really did a good job of getting after Taylor Heineke. They finished the day with 4 sacks as a unit against a Washington football team that has only given up 6 sacks all season long coming into Sunday's game. And they did so without either Smith bro.
Yeah, it was really impressive that this defensive performance happened without basically you could say 3 of our best defensive players weren't on the field.
Yeah, and our 2 best pass rushers, Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith. Obviously, Zadarius, who knows if and when he'll ever be back. But Preston Smith, unfortunately, was not able to play due to his oblique injury. His 102 consecutive games started streak came to an end. So it was up to Rashaan Gary to step up and wreak some havoc, and that is exactly what Rashaan Gary did. 10 pressures, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. He was an absolute maniac out there.
Yeah, 10 pressures, and he was getting held. Like, you could see every week. I know that's just life in the NFL as a pass rusher, but sometimes it's so blatantly obvious the guy's holding him by the neck, and he still doesn't get the call. So, Rashaan Gary, I was happy he balled out. And it was interesting because Washington's offensive line, I know they were without Brandon Sheriff, who's one of the best guards in the league, but they were rated as top 3 offensive line in the league, and
Yeah. Only 6 sacks.
Green
given up all year.
Bay took it to him.
in Rashaan Gary, he was the spark plug. First play of the second half, a strip sack on Heineke. The ball pops out, falls right into Lowry's lap. It could have been an interception if not for Rashaan Gary stripping that.
I was thinking it was kind of an interception because the ball flew up, and but no, it was a forced fumble. Doesn't matter. We got the ball. That was awesome to see Lowry just the ball fall into his belly there, and beautiful.
And Lowry himself been putting together a great string of performances.
Yeah.
He's really stepped up, been wreaking havoc in his own right. It's great to see Dean Lowry come up with big plays like that. But after the game, Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur both spoke about how much passion Rashaan Gary has for the game of football. And I have to say that passion is palpable when he is out there on the field. Like you could feel it through the screen. It started last year, week 10 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was when Rashaan Gary had his emergence. Like he brought the heat on that final drive against the Jags last year, and ever since then, he has been a standout player on this Packers defense. And both LaFleur and Aaron talked about how he got the game ball after the game, and if it was anything like draft night, I'm sure it was a great moment in the locker room with Rashaan Gary.
Yeah, Rashaan Gary's so passionate. I really like him, and he was one of. Or say Rashaan Gary is becoming one of my favorite players now because he won my heart over that one play where he was getting held by the offensive lineman, but he reached around him and grabbed the quarterback and brought the tackle and the quarterback down. So that's when Rashaan Gary won my heart over because he is just so passionate, wants to get in there and sack the quarterback. And
he's relentless.
Awesome.
He's relentless. He never stops, and that's why it's so important that the Packers have guys now with Preston Smith banged up and Zadarius out to come in and give Rashaan Gary his rests because he puts so much effort out there every single snap that he needs some breaks. And luckily, John Garvin, he was able to play, get some nice snaps. He finished with a tackle and a quarterback hit. But most importantly, Whitney Merciless suited up.
Yeah.
And he took 31 snaps.
It was great to see that. First of all, just the team going out and signing Whitney, it was such a key move. I mean, we need another pass rusher, and he wanted to come and play in Green Bay, and that's just such a great sign that he wanted to come here and try to help us win a championship. I couldn't be more happy. I think it kind of went under the radar. The Jalen Smith signing got a lot more pop, but I think this is much more impactful. Whitney Merciless, you could see he's going to be playing more than Jalen Smith. He is a dominant, or I should say, when he was in his prime, he was a dominant pass rusher. And if he can just find any of that and bring it to the Packers pass rush, that would be so huge.
He seems to have a lot left in the tank. I mean, he has 3 sacks on the season so far that he picked up while he was playing with Houston this year. And on Sunday, he had 4 pressures. And just his presence out there alone, it was felt. He was gaining push. He was manhandling the guy trying to block him and gaining push.
And exclusively on pass rushing scenarios because he was brought in this week. I mean, I was surprised he was even suited up. That's significant for a guy to be, he came in just mere days ago and he's out there. And as you mentioned, thankfully wearing a respectable linebacker number.
Yeah.
He didn't come in wearing, number 14 or come in wearing
9.
Some single digit bullshit. He's wearing number 50. He's badass, old school Whitney Merciless.
He looks great in number 50.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great to see number 50 get into that backfield and get after these quarterbacks for the next couple weeks, especially once Preston gets back in there.
Yeah.
And now John Garvin is the 4th edge rusher and not the 2nd like he is right now. You know what I mean? Like, once everyone gets healthy, the Packers pass rush is going to.
And John Kuhn did say on the post game that if this was a playoff game, he spoke to Preston. He said if this was a playoff game, Preston would have been playing. But they said, Preston really wanted to play. This was the first game in his entire career that he missed. 102 games. I mean, that's for a defensive end. That's huge. I mean, usually you'll miss a game here and there, but with this would be his 7th season. He's never missed a game, so that's awesome. Credit to him. Kuhn said he would have suited up if it was a playoff game. We need Smith. We need Gary, and we need Marcellus to get something going.
Yeah, and on Sunday, the Packers pass rush on Sunday was a good example of really how it's been all season. Last week, I referred to the Packers pass rush as a slow boil, that it was really weak to start the year, but over the past several weeks, they've really been getting after quarterbacks, and it starts with the interior pressure that
It
Kenny
starts
and
with
Dean
Kenny
make.
King. It starts with Kenny, and Kingsley Keke is he's making some noise in there. I mean, Lancaster's not much of a force in the pass rush department, but he gets his pressure.
And
He's got the bionic elbow now.
Yeah. He asked Flea to do him up with the exact replica of the Kenny Clark right arm. He has now Lancaster has the exact tape job that Kenny Clark has on his right arm, trying to harness that Kenny Clark mojo. But yeah, once Preston gets back in there, the Packers pass rush is seems like they're going to be strong all season long. Now 4 weeks in a row, really, where they've been wreaking havoc. Kevin King did not play, unfortunately, after practicing in a limited capacity all week long. So the Packers in the secondary had to rely on Eric Stokes and Rashaan Douglas. And Rashaan Douglas played great.
Yeah, I could not be happier with the way Rashaan Douglas played. And just to mention to listeners who may not be familiar with Rashaan Douglas, he's been around the league. This is his seventh team. He's been on the Eagles, the Panthers, the Raiders, the Texans, the Cardinals, and now the Green Bay Packers. But the guy is only 26 years old. He was a third-round draft pick in 2017. And damn, I mean, he's playing so much better than I expected, so much so that I don't see a reason to put Kevin King on the field over Rashaan Douglas.
That's definitely something interesting that the Packers are going to need to make a decision about. I mean, Rashaan Douglas, in his second game as a Green Bay Packer, his first start, had a pass breakup and a forced fumble, and he actually finished the day as the Packers' highest-graded defender, according to Pro Football Focus.
He really had a great play on a third down where he broke up the pass, and it was an absolute horrible call on the pass interference. I don't know if anyone listening remembers. It was like within 5 yards, Rashaan gave him a little gave him some contact. It was a horrible call, but Rashaan broke up the play on a third down. Then immediately the next play, he comes flying in. He slams the running back. He got a little stinger, but you could tell like he was pissed. He came in fast and hit the running back hard.
When he went down, I honestly thought that he had like a compound fracture in his upper arm due to how excruciating it seemed to have been. He was writhing in pain, but he jumped up and he was good to go.
Yeah, we're lucky that it was that week where we signed Douglas and Quentin Dunbar, and we were both thinking like, well, damn, I mean, maybe if one of these guys pans out, and Douglas has panned out in a big way.
Immediately. His impact has been felt immediately. Eric Stokes had a solid day of his own. I mean, he did get bested on that 50-50 ball to Terry McLaurin in the end zone on Heineke's Brett Favre play.
Kuhn doesn't seem to think that was a bad play by Stokes. As hard as that may, like, as weird of a take as that may be, he said apparently that the ball was just underthrown, and that if it was a better pass by Heineke, he thinks Stokes would have been in great coverage to make the play. But apparently it was such a bad pass that McLaurin came back and came early to the ball or something like that.
I love that take by John
I know.
Kuhn.
I absolutely love that take by John Kuhn sticking up for Eric Stokes when overall it was probably just a bad play by Stokes.
It didn't even look like Stokes turned around. But
No.
You know what? I agree with John Kuhn that Taylor Heineke's only Brett Favre-like moment was a horrible pass. Horrible pass. Lucky play.
Yeah, so overall, Kuhn thought Stokes played awesome. He said, and if you take out that one play where it was like a weird play and they kind of had Stokes like on his own against one of the best receivers in the NFL, and really Terry McLaurin's a great wide receiver. And Eric Stokes put the clamp down on him.
He did. He had another pass breakup. It was another fourth down pass breakup to boot, and he finished the day with a top 5 PFF grade as well. I mean, if those two corners are playing like that together, I really don't see a need for Kevin King to come back as the starter. You made a great point to start the segment. I mean, they have something to think about with how Rasul Douglas has came in and performed. He saw an opportunity to make some
and he
playing
seized
time
that
for
opportunity,
himself, and he seized it.
It's just like interesting the way the NFL works with like he's been bouncing around 4 different practice squads in the last 2 years and comes to Green Bay and immediately makes an impact. We'll get to the linebackers as well, but it's just interesting. And then like Devondre Campbell, who's on the bargain bin of free agency, and they bring him in, and he's been a total badass, top-rated linebacker, middle linebacker for PFF. So it's just funny how some of those things work, and like.
And it speaks to how great of an organization the Green Bay Packers are, and how it's a place where players can go and
people want to
perform.
come here.
It's an opportunity for guys to perform. The Packers don't discriminate if you're a no-name guy. Example one would be Chris Barnes. I mean, coming off the street last year, starting for the Packers immediately as a middle linebacker. I mean,
is Barnes hurt? Where's he been? Because Burks was playing more than him, and now we have Jalen Smith. It was just a thought I had.
Barnes was out there for 17 plays. Smith was impeding on them, but really the Packers went with
Oren Burks, right?
Oren Burks was out there for 9 plays. I mean, it was really just they were in a lot of nickel, and due to that, I mean, Henry Black played 17 snaps.
Wow,
due to the fact that they had all those DBs out there.
Henry Black had one very bad missed tackle on a screenplay, but other than that, I think no news is good news when you don't hear about those guys in the secondary. Like, I didn't really hear about Henry Black, but someone we definitely have to highlight is Chandan Sullivan. Maybe had the game of his career. He was awarded the dagger by Larry McCarron. He got the "there's your dagger" play from the interception in the end zone he had. And Chandan Sullivan, he definitely probably the best game of his career.
Yeah, he's had 2 back-to-back strong games. His coverage has been pretty good in that slot position, and he did have that interception in the end zone. And what made me really happy for Chandan Sullivan, he posted after the game that it was his grandfather's first time seeing him play in the NFL, and the fact that he was able to grab an interception and share that moment with his grandfather was great.
Yeah, it was either his dad or his grandpa. I don't know what the backstory is behind that, but it's interesting. First time we're going to have to go look and see why that is. But the first time he saw him play live, and he got the interception, and then we saw, like, you could see on the broadcast, he immediately ran over and gave the ball to someone, and then it's cool to know that
He's a family member of his, and it was really nice to see. But that group of Stokes, good for Chandan Sullivan, great game. And that group of Stokes, Douglas, and Sullivan played great, and they're going to need to continue with that level of play Thursday against the Cardinals. The Cardinals have a very strong wide receiver group, and they're high-powered offense. So whoever is playing for the Packers in that secondary is going to need to bring the same effort. I mean, it was a great performance from the Packers secondary, who's without Jair Alexander and Kevin King.
Yeah, we didn't even mention Jair Alexander. All reports are that he's progressing well from his AC joint sprain, and
he'll be back in due time.
I just let him heal up. I don't even, care if it. Well, obviously I do care. I want him back as soon as possible, like every Packer fan. But you don't want that guy hurt like long term. You got He's the best corner in the NFL. You got to keep him healthy.
We need him in January. We need Jair Alexander in January.
Other injury news from the things I've been reading, it doesn't seem like Zadarius Smith will be playing again this season for the Packers, which is just, it's so disappointing that his only game this year was that week 1 bullshit game with the Saints, and we really could have used Zadarius Smith in the Super Bowl push, but
I can only imagine what this defense would be looking like if Zadarius was out there making the plays that he is known to make. It's a shame, but a little bit of better news in terms of injuries. Darnell Savage, after leaving last week's game with the concussion and going through the protocol this week, he suited up and he played every single snap of the game. He finished with 6 tackles and a pass breakup. And And the safeties on this Packers team, that tandem that they have is really special. Adrian Amos and
Yeah.
Darnell Savage are studs, and they play great together.
We're lucky to have those two back there. Amos and Savage are. I can't think of a better safety duo in the NFL off
Neither
the top
can
of my
I. I mean,
head. They're so dynamic together. Darnell, he's a 4-2 guy playing safety. I mean, you never really see that. He is so fast and rangy. He can cover everything. He's a hard hitter. Darnell Savage is so good. The Packers, I think we have him under contract for like 3 more years, but he must be locked up long term.
Yeah, and the thing is, he had such a great game, and he still left plays out there. I know he had that one missed tackle that they ended
love
up
Darnell.
shedding, but he had a great game, and I love
Yeah.
Darnell. I was wearing my Darnell Savage 1950s throwback, and
Yeah.
I was pumped to see him out there. I was really concerned that he might not suit up when they were wearing the 50s jersey, but he did, and he played great.
These concussion protocol measures are very lax from what it seems. I mean, Darnell was motionless on the field last week, and then he's out there this week. I mean,
I
hey,
knew he would play if he could. He's so
Yeah.
tough, and good for him to play and play well. And Adrian Amos, 6 tackles, 2 pass breakups, 1 coming on 4th down in the end zone. So they played great. They continue to play great.
Yeah, there were a few plays. I think one specifically where Amos flew across the field and broke up a pass, and it was either on a 3rd or 4th down, and it was just an excellent play by Amos, who is a fantastic player.
And the one guy that we need to highlight as we close up this defensive segment here on the Week 7 edition of the Weekly Cheese is Devondre Campbell. I know we highlight him every single week, but after 7 weeks of the 2021 NFL season, I don't know if you could say any middle linebacker has played better than Devondre Campbell.
Yeah,
He is somehow turned himself. Maybe he's been it all along. I mean, I wasn't too familiar with Devondre Campbell until the Packers signed him, but he's been part of good defenses in the past. He's always been the second middle linebacker on these teams, and in his first chance as a mic'd linebacker calling the plays, Devondre Campbell is playing phenomenally.
And I mean, just to go back to what we were saying, the disrespect shown by Arizona to not even offer him a contract. And I remember when we signed him, I take this for what it's worth, but I remember looking at the comment sections on Reddit and Arizona fans just like making fun of the fact that we signed Devondre Campbell, like, haha, have fun with him. He's one of the best linebackers in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, like Larry McCarron said, this is a man playing possessed. He is mad that the entire league looked him over. No one besides us was willing to give him a shot, really, to be a starting linebacker, which is just absurd to think about. I mean,
The Packers won the lottery with
Yeah.
signing Devondre Campbell and having him come in and play this well. 13 tackles, 10 solo on Sunday. He stuffed Heineke on the goal line. You said he's a man possessed. He's possessed by Ray Nitschke.
he's everywhere over
He
the
is
field.
everywhere.
Man.
He is great in coverage. He absolutely plants grown men into the ground when he's tackling these dudes underneath. And it's a complete 180 from the type of play we've seen coming out of the Packers middle linebacker unit over the past several years. I mean, it is tremendous what he is doing. He is a difference maker for this defensive unit, and he has emerged as the true leader of the defense. He is the guy on that defensive unit. He is so good, and he should be talked about as an all-pro potentially after 7 games.
Yeah, Devondre Campbell is just everywhere over the field.
And where the Packers needed it the most, the weakest position on this team coming into the year was middle linebacker, and a guy signed during OTAs comes in and is playing like this.
It's just so important to have him. I mean, with that group, I mean, now we signed Jalen Smith, but with some of the plays he's been offering, you could see why Dallas wasn't so keen on keeping him at that salary.
Yeah, and
I mean, he whiffs on tackles left and right. So it's just so important to have, because it keeps guys like, unfortunately, Ty Summers and Orrin Burks keeps them sidelined and relegated to the special teams unit.
yeah, I mean, Jalen Smith, and he did have a nice play there on Sunday. I believe Gibson was running the ball to the outside.
But that's the thing with him. You'd think it's going to be a good play, and then he doesn't finish it.
But he turned him inside, and he did his job. He turned him in. They got Packers stuffed him for, I think, a gain of 1. It was a good play by him. He didn't finish the play, but you could see that he's there. And as the second linebacker on the field, being spelled with Chris Barnes in there, and Burks coming in because Burks is good for a couple snaps. I mean, he's been playing better this season than he has in years past. But it's great to see.
I saw McDuffie suited up on the sideline. Just to mention McDuffie. I mean, hey, we're still thinking about you, bud.
Yeah, we're thinking about you, Isaiah McDuffie. It's good to see you out there. And I saw him celebrating, I believe, on a turnover. I believe he might have been out there and celebrating.
Shout out to Nyman. We're thinking about you too, buddy.
Yeah, we are.
We're thinking, hey, if Runyon keeps up these performances, they might have to kick Jenkins in to guard and put you back out at tackle, big man.
It might have to happen. You're totally right.
Just keep on securing those chicken sliders for the O-line, and we'll still love you.
And Devondre Campbell, we'll be getting to see him on a revenge game Thursday night. Against the Arizona Cardinals.
I didn't even think about that.
I think he's going to have a monstrous performance. I hope to see him.
A revenge game as well for Rasul Douglas. For
Rasul, yeah.
Is there any other revenge factors going into this?
I don't know. But I know that there was a failed revenge game on Sunday for Jace Sternberger, who you said you saw on the sideline of the Washington football team.
No, I actually just saw that he was a healthy scratch for them, so that goes to show what's up with him over there.
A failed revenge game for Sternberger. Yeah. And you bring up Summers, and as we close this defensive segment here, we'll bring up the Packers on Sunday honored Bobby Dillon for they put him in the Ring of Honor. And with that usually comes a jersey retirement, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Mike?
Yeah, I do believe so. I mean, most of the individuals who are up there in the Ring of Honor do have that jersey retired, I believe. But, no, I mean, this 44 jersey will be interesting to see.
Yeah, because Ty Summers is currently wearing Bobby Dillon's number, and if it were to be retired...
You think they would strip the man of it mid-season?
I don't think Ty Summers has enough pull to sway them in a different direction if they were to decide to strip him in the middle of the season. Let me just say that. I don't know if they would, but if they wanted to, they could.
They certainly could, yeah. So Bobby Dillon, congrats to him. He was in the Centennial Hall of Fame class, and now Packers Ring of Honor member to the late Bobby Dillon, who would be disgusted to see who is wearing his beloved 44 nowadays.
Yeah, I'm sure he would not feel good knowing that Summers is wearing his legendary 44.
Last note would just be Kenny Clark. I mean,
he wasn't huge in the box score like he has been over the past several weeks, Kenny Clark, but he does so much for the Packers defense. He's constantly plugging up holes, and he's the spearhead of the entire operation there at the nose tackle.
Oh yeah, and I guess we could say for the rest of the D-line, Dean Lowry, great performance. Good to see him out there. And Kingsley Keke had a little bit of pressure, and Tyler Lancaster with his usual run-stuffing effort. We are certainly Tyler Lancaster fans over here.
Yeah, I will say that Lancaster was involved on the
on
the field goal block. On Sunday it was a weird game in the sense that both teams blocked a field goal back to back, and on the Packers on Mason Crosby's field goal that got blocked, Lancaster seemed to have missed an assignment on the right edge, and Runyon got barreled through on the interior. So two of our favorite players on the entire team did not have the brightest spot in terms of special teams blocking on that field goal attempt there. But with that being said, the Packers' special teams was improved on Sunday. Couple shout-outs on the special teams. They had their first blocked field goal in many, many years. TJ Slayton was able to get in there with a nice push, get his hands on it. Immediately when we noticed Slayton got his hands on it, I stated that there's no way he got too high off the ground, that he seems to be a grounded individual standing at 6'4", 330.
Very, very limited by gravity.
And he said after the game, he was talking to The Rock after the game, he said that he didn't jump at all.
He
and
didn't
in
jump
fact,
at all, yeah.
he stated that he didn't even know what he did. He said that he just got in there, he stuck his hand up, he felt something hard smack his hand, and he started celebrating.
Yeah, it was. He said the first field goal block of his career. It was hilarious. If you get a chance, go watch T.J. Slayton's post game interview with The Rock.
It was awesome.
He literally, he couldn't have been more like unaware that he blocked the field goal. But hey, good for him. They probably teaching him now in special teams, the NFL, to get those big ass arms he had, get him up in the air, block that. Whoever he was right next to had a chance to block it as well. It might have been Kiki, but yeah, both of those guys were in there. They both had a chance to block it. Then luckily, like you said, it hit the metallic black glove of that metallic. You could see the big paw come up in the air with the glove.
All you see is his ginormous black Jordan glove come out of nowhere. Like, you can't even see who it is. It's like there's a bunch of hands, and then out of nowhere, the black Jordan glove comes out of nowhere. And then gets the finger on it. Then who runs out of that pile? It's T.J. Slayton, and he starts telling the crowd to.
He said he was trying to hype everyone up. I love that guy.
It was awesome. It was awesome to see.
I
And
love that
one more
guy.
note from the special teams: Bajorquez.
A successful
I saw a headline:
banana punt.
Boho's Mojo. That's what I saw was the headline, and he coming off a week where he had the longest punt in Packers history. Bajorquez backed up in his own end zone, was able to boom one for 62, flip the field, and then he followed it up with a perfectly executed banana punt.
Yeah, he got screwed, I think, on that placement because maybe they did end up ruling it down.
They ruled it down at the 3.
Word.
They
Perfect.
He did get initially screwed.
Yeah. So then the refs. We just say quickly, the refs. It seems like every Packers game this year we have a horrible officiating crew. But anyway, Bajorquez executed a perfect banana punt. Like we mentioned when we signed this guy like weeks ago, we mentioned in the podcast that he was going to be
implementing the banana punt.
The banana punt. It's perfect implementation of the banana punt. It comes down where it lands like the soft end of the banana peel. It worked out perfectly this time, and J.K. Scott could only dream of the banana punt.
Yeah, no, it's really nice to have an alpha punter finally. Since we haven't had an alpha punter since Tim Mastay.
Oh, Super Bowl champion.
And it's great to see Boho back there just rocketing these
Boho blast
bombs. So good for Bajorquez. Ultimately, this win over the football team is one that everyone out there listening should feel good about. The defense came up with 4 consecutive red zone stops. They won the turnover battle. And on top of that, they dominated a very strong offensive line, sacked Heineke 4 times, and they did so without all of their best defensive players. Jair Alexander not in, Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith. They were injured. They stepped up, and they had momentum-changing plays. They were opportunistic as a defensive unit. And on offense, although they could not run the ball to save their lives, and they don't have Bakhtiari or MVS, they dominated the Washington football team. They dominated them.
Matt LaFleur said in his post game that it's a coach's dream to be 6-1 and still have all these areas where you can improve. Because if you think about it, there's so much more where the Packers, there's so much more out there for them in terms of getting better, putting up even more points, and being better on defense. So that's just going to about do it here for this edition of the Weekly Cheese. Make sure you check in for the preview show where there's 2 very hot topics that I'd like to cover. First being Greg Jennings' Packers Hall of Fame induction. While I do believe it's warranted, I do feel like it's a little premature with how much of an ass he's been the last couple of years.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
And then, I don't know if you saw, but Martellus Bennett has just been an absolute disgrace on Twitter, bashing the Packers, bashing the team doctors and everything. That guy with that whole situation is just such a joke. So we're gonna get into that on the pre-game of the Cardinals Thursday night.
Yeah. On top of that, the Packers, they're gonna be tested over the next several weeks. You got the Cardinals on Thursday, then they follow that up with the Chiefs and the Seahawks. over the next 3 weeks. So
That's
we'll
a
get
tough
into all
three-game
that.
slate.
We'll talk again on Wednesday when we preview the matchup on Thursday night with the Arizona Cardinals. Until then, remember, as always, the cheese stands alone, and we'll talk to you next on Wednesday, everyone. Have a good
Pack.
Go Pack.